Ken, yeah, that's a very, very interesting question. The fact is, I don't do anything. These things just find me. But what I bring to them is, I have a feeling about the scripts that I get. And it's a kind of an intuitive feeling. So when I get lots of scripts, I just think this is not for me. And then things that I really love, I think this is for me. What made Priscilla, the Queen of the Desert, unusual was that when I first read it, or when I first tried to read it, I found myself very weary and in need of a kind of nap. So I just thought, oh, I'll just have 40 winks and I'll read that when I'm more awake. And the bottom line was, I never got around to reading it. So there was a woman who happened to be having come to have tea with me when my agent rang. And I was kind of telling my agent, oh, it's a one joke thing about guys wearing frocks, and I don't really think it's the sort of thing I'm interested in. And this actress stopped me and she said, just say yes. I said, what? And my agent was, sorry, have you got somebody there? I said, what? She said, just say yes, just say yes. And I said, oh, well, why don't we progress it and see what happens, And the agent said, oh, but darling, it's in Australia, the guy's a first-time director. And I said, well, and the girl, Caroline, was saying, just say yes and hang up, So I said, well, let's progress it. And I said, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? This crazy thing in Australia. And she said, your fear is out of all proportion to the possible consequences. And the only way you can ever really find out about it is if you just keep saying yes. And maybe it will go away. But if it doesn't go away, then you have to address the fear. And then she said this thing that really caught my attention. She said, this is not a career move. This is a growth move. Nathan, I guess it's a kind of perverse answer, really. But the great directors I've worked with have just been wonderful, wonderful, rich, fabulous experiences. We're talking about Ustinov, Weiler, Fellini, Soderbergh. Those are the great directors. I guess really the challenges for me personally is working with the directors who don't really like me and never really wanted me. And the first director with whom that occurred was John Schlesinger when I did Far From the Madding Crowd. And he made it very clear that I wasn't his first choice. I was like hoisted on him by the producer. So that was the first time that I had had to work without the cooperation of a director. And I think I discovered a lot about myself. I discovered that, left to my own devices, I could pull something out of the bag. So although it's probably not the answer you were expecting, really that's the way I look at it. And obviously I've worked with directors that are like nightmares to work with. And generally speaking, I know they're going to be nightmares. It's just that I have to make a living. Sometimes I'm just broke. And I'm asked to do a job with a director I'm not going to get along with. But I have that kind of reassurance of Madding Crowd because it was a great triumph for me. And so my foundation is in that. I'm always hoping to work with a great director that really likes me, that prints my first take and knows where I'm at. But I can find benefit in directors that I don't get along with. Tyler, yes, guilty. Guilty pleasures. I guess the first James Bonds with Sean Connery, I love those. They're the only ones I saw, actually. I didn't think that it was such a wonderful, natural part for him. So when he left, that was when I stopped watching them, really. And I guess those first Clint Eastwood movies that he made with Sergio Leone, I think they were kind of rather wonderful. The movie Alchemist. How did I prepare for General Zod? Well, strangely enough, I didn't actually have to prepare for General Zod because it came at a time when I hadn't worked. I hadn't done any serious films since kind of 1977. I'd made little parts, I'd earned the rent, I'd done independent movies, and I was living in India. I was actually in an ashram, and in this ashram, the point of this ashram was that we were encouraged to stay aware as much as possible. And there was this whole interaction between all the kind of sannyasins who lived in the ashram. Like, if we noticed that somebody was like just, not present, we would kind of nudge them, or we would take the piss out of them, or we would bring it to their attention. And that was the kind of ambiance I'd been living in for like a year when the General Zod part came up. And, consequently, I hadn't cut my hair for 7 years. I had a long beard, When I went to meet Richard Donner, I was still in Orange. I still had the long hair. And I was, to be honest with you, I was surprised I got the part. I couldn't imagine why Richard Donner had cast me, But on that day, when I went on the set to meet them, including Marlon, which was a huge moment for me, I had a feeling that I was just more awake than everybody else. I mean, obviously they were awake and they were working and they were talking, but in comparison with how focused I was, everybody seemed like half asleep. So I didn't need any preparation. I thought, I'll just go with that. I'll play this role as though I'm in the ashram. I won't worry about being evil or what I say or what I do. I'll just bring this kind of all-enveloping presence to it. And yeah, that's what I did.